October 3rd of 2022, December 20 of 2022, and March 21 of 2023. Pages 2 of the orders where the court made findings that Ms. Munoz was in compliance, please.
So noted.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Munoz, is it correct that in December of last year is when you moved from your home with Mr. Diaz to the home on?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall that Yahida did visit the home at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did she visit that more than once?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, and that's the home which resulted in eviction because you stopped payment due to problems with the landlord repairs, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so did Mr. Angelo live with you in that home?
Yes, ma'am.
He did live there?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
When did he move out?
It was before the last permanency and the last hearing we had.
So that was early this year then, when you actually separated and ended your relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
When I say ended your relationship, is that who ended the relationship?
It was more of a mutual thing, but we had discussion that if his services weren't going to be done, that we weren't going to be able to be in that relationship for the fact that we wanted our kids. I wanted my kids to come home.
Okay. Does that mean that you told him if he doesn't do services, then you're ending the relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you do that?
Because my kids have suffered enough because of my own decisions.
And in your current home that you've had for a month, Yahida has been there physically to view it, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you show her everything that you have prepared for the children?
I didn't show her specifically each and everything, but I did allow her in the room so she could see what all was there.
Okay, what did you have stored or in storage for the children that Yahida was not given the opportunity to view?
I have clothes. I have they're all of their basic necessities, their clothes, their toys, shoes. I have body washes, toothbrushes, blankets, sheets. I have basically anything that they might need.
Okay, why have you not set it up?
Well, I just recently moved in, but I've also, because I want them to have everything brand new for when they return home.
Earlier, Mr. Pipes asked you what plan did you have to address any behavioral issues or any concerns for the children. You stated that you wanted to continue counseling.
Yes, ma'am.
And how will you continue that counseling?
Well, I know that I was wanting to refer back with Pete Ruiz, but I'm not too sure if he does family counseling. And the reason for that is because my son has he's going through a lot. Him particularly, he's going through a lot and he's pulling away. So I would like to continue the counseling.
Okay. Are you wanting to continue individual counseling for yourself?
Yes, I am.
You want to continue individual counseling for the children?
Yes, ma'am.
And you want to look into getting family counseling for the children and you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, this friend that you say you have set up for daycare, what was her full name again, please?
Haley.
How old is Haley?
She is 26.
Okay. And where does Haley live? There in Odessa?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How many children does she have?
She has one.
Is she married?
She has a boyfriend.
Does the boyfriend live there in the home with her?
Yes, ma'am.
Does the boyfriend work?
Yes, ma'am.
Does Haley work?
Her job is babysitting.
Okay. And what is her criminal history?
She has none.
What is her CPS history?
She has none.
How did you meet her?
Through work.
Is it correct that you're asking that the court return the children to you today and award you permanent custody?
Yes, ma'am.
If the court awards you permanent custody, are you asking that the court order Mr. Diaz to pay child support for the children?
At this time, no, ma'am. I want to do it by myself. But
Why?
just simply because I've been doing good right now. I mean, if further assistance is needed, we have had the discussion and he has agreed that we could verbally come to an agreement for financial. But as of right now, I would prefer to do it by myself.
Okay. Do you acknowledge that the law requires that the absent parent pay child support?
I didn't know that.
Right? Assuming that the law requires that the absent parent pay child support, would you expect him to pay it, and would that be in the best interest of the children?
It would, but I would prefer to do make a verbal agreement with him, as I'm aware that he's willing to help.
Do you have health insurance for the children there at your job?
Yes, I can get it. I can't get it until they are with me.
How much will it cost to cover those children?
They told me it would be $100.
For the family or for each child?
I was told for all of us.
Including you?
Yes, ma'am.
When you said that you do not believe that he needs classes, if you said you did not believe he needs classes, then why do you believe that you had to end the relationship?
Because it was told to me that if we were still together and the classes weren't done, that the children would not be returned.
Okay. Who told you that?
Yahaira.
Okay. Has anyone else told you that if you are in a relationship with Angelo Diaz, that the department will not return the children to you?
Yes, ma'am, you have.
Do you recall conferring with Courtney Reese?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, definitely.
Okay. And what was your understanding of Ms. Reese's position as the supervisor for the department?
Can you explain that question a little bit better?
What did you understand about what Courtney said?
She basically told me that she told me if I had any kind of communication whatsoever or a relationship or lived together, that my children would not be returned home to me at all. And I also took off of our meeting that she was going to get my unborn baby involved as well.
Okay. And did Yahaira tell you that something a little bit different, that she encouraged you not to be in a romantic relationship, but that she could not prohibit you from speaking to him? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is it your goal to be civil to each other, although you're not in a romantic relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it your goal to be civil in order to co-parent and be the best parents you can be for the children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any desire or intention to be in a romantic relationship with Mr. Diaz?
No, ma'am. I have no desire or intention to be in any kind of relationship.
With anybody?
With anybody.
Okay. You stated that you learned in your domestic violence counseling that domestic violence includes our arguments, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you admitted that you have had arguments with Angelo in the past.
Yes, ma'am.
Given what you learned and what you've admitted, do you acknowledge that, using that definition of domestic violence, there is a history of domestic violence between you and Angelo?
Like I said earlier, I believe with the understanding that I've come to now, of what domestic violence is in, I guess, the law's eyes, then yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so it is correct that you've separated after you were pregnant?
Yes, ma'am.
And you do have the air conditioning units, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And to the best of your understanding, have photographs been offered or presented to the attorneys showing you have those units in your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are they located?
The photos
Where are the units located?
in the living room, the room, and the children's room.
Okay. Do you believe that that's going to keep the room cold
Yes, ma'am.
or the house cold?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you try it?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you agree that through the life of this case, there may have been a little bit of a personality conflict with you and Ms. Zubiate?
Yes, ma'am.
You've had disagreements.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you trying to hide anything from her?
No, ma'am.
And is it true that the reason you didn't make yourself available was because of your work and for no other reason?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you said that you recently were promoted?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that you net approximately $1,200 every 2 weeks?
Yes, ma'am.
So what are you paid per hour?
$15 an hour.
How many hours per week do you work?
40, sometimes less, sometimes very little less, sometimes very little more.
Are you paid time and a half for anything over 40 hours?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did your rate of pay increase when you were recently promoted?
It increased by $1.25.
Okay, when were you promoted?
I was promoted on May 8th.
And if the court does not feel it is in the best interest of the children to name you a permanent managing conservator and return them to you today and tell CPS they're out of the case, are you asking that in the alternative, the other option, are you asking that the court award you a monitored return and place the children with you today?
Yes, ma'am.
I pass the witness.
Ms. Blunt?
I have no questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Olson.
Thank you. Am I hearing feedback? I guess
You're
not.
good.
Okay, sorry. I'm hearing things, but apparently no one else is, so we'll call it good. Excuse me. Just a couple of questions, if I may. Ms. Diaz, help me out on this. You're working at Wendy's. You said that you were working about 40 hours a week. That's your normal shift, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're paid $15 an hour.
Yes, sir.
And the paychecks are issued every 2 weeks. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And your paycheck is $1,200.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But that's obviously gross, isn't it? That's not your take home pay.
No, my that's my take home. The gross, it's usually around like 13, 14. I would have to look at my check stubs to be exactly sure.
Well, okay. So $15 an hour for 40 hours a week is $600. $600 per week for 2 weeks is $1,200. That's gross. So what are your work hours?
Well, my work schedule is kind of just everywhere. For the most part, I work 10-hour days. So it's not just 40 hours. It's actually sometimes give or take more, give or take less. It just varies. I don't really have a set schedule.
Okay, so you typically work a 10-hour shift, but are you saying that you work more than 4 shifts per week?
Well, yes, sir. I work around 4 to 5 because I get 2 days off a week.
2 days off a week would be 5. Okay. But the hours within the day are variable. when is Wendy's open? I mean, are they open 24 hours or do they have an opening time in the morning, a closing time in the evening?
We open at 5:30 in the morning and we close at 1:30. Or we close at 12, but it's usually like they leave by 1:30.
So it's really closed for a total of about 4 hours is all.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So your work hours can be anywhere within that 20-hour range in a day?
No, sir. I have specifically asked for the morning shift per my kids for the simple fact that I want to work while they are in school or in like Ariana's in pre-K. So I want to work the hours of the morning where I can be at work while they're in school and I can be at home while they're home.
Okay. So your typical schedule would then be starting at 5:30, or would you be starting a little bit later than that?
When they return home, I would be starting later.
Okay. But up to this point, you've been working when?
5:30 in the morning to sometimes 2, 3, 4.
Okay. But despite that schedule, we couldn't work out any time for you to visit with Yahira or have her visit your home.
Well, I would let her know on the days that I could, that I was off. But I mean, when I was home, she said she had to do unannounced visits. So, I mean, she wouldn't show while I was there at home.
Okay. And in terms of the days of the week, are you typically working Monday through Friday? Or and you said you have 2 days off. What are your 2 days off typically?
It varies. I'm under new management. I have a new district manager, so our hours are just being thrown everywhere.
Okay. But your childcare arrangement is going to be okay with that?
Okay.
Does she operate 20 hours a day, 7 days a week?
Well, see, I wouldn't be working anytime past 5, and she's aware of that. I've made my job aware of that as well. So it would be, she knows that it's gonna be in between, 5:30 to 5.
Okay. So 40 hours per week, $15 per hour. That's $1,200 gross per 2 weeks. So getting to a $1,200 net requires that you have some amount of overtime, at least to cover Social Security plus whatever other deductions there may be. Is that fair to say?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I may be the only one that's mystified by this, but tell me about Angelo. Of what year?
Of 2020?
Of 2020. So when this case began, where was he?
He was already with his grandmother.
He was already with his grandmother at that time, because this case was initiated in January of 2022, correct?
Right.
I'm sorry. Am I? Nope. I think I'm on the wrong date here.
No, you're correct.
Okay, it is January. Sorry. Okay. So this case was initiated in January 2022, at which point he would have been roughly 16 months old.
No, he was, oh, yes, sir. Because he
Okay.
was, when he was removed from me, his father removed him when he was 8 months old.
Okay, and then that's what I was going to follow up with. So he would have been removed from you around April or May-ish of 2021. Does that sound correct? Okay. And he is with his paternal grandmother. In other words, with Angelo Diaz's mother.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And she lives in what you may have said.
Monaghan.
Where does she live? She lives in Monaghan. Okay. But there is no legal custody arrangement for Angelo Jr. at this point, is there?
Legally, no, but we have come to an agreement. amongst me, her, and Angelo.
Okay, but at this point, legally, he is still your responsibility. And if she were not able to care for him, you would be responsible for his care as well.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever have a discussion with Yahira about Angelo Jr.?
In the beginning, I believe I did. I did want to get him back home, but that was before me and the grandmother had agreement.
Do you visit Angelo Jr.?
Yes, I do.
So potentially, if the court were to grant your request and the grandmother were to, for whatever reason, not be able to care for the child, you would have 4 children in the home, all under 5 years of age, wouldn't you?
If that were to happen, yes, sir. But we are actually working on getting the legal stuff done for them to have the conservatorship of him.
Okay. I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Redirect, Mr. Pipes.
Have no redirect, Your
All
Honor.
right. Thank you, Ms. Munoz. You may mute your microphone now. Your next witness, Mr. Pipes.
I call Angelo Diaz, Your Honor. Mr. Diaz, where do you currently live?
Right now I'm living with a friend at the moment.
Where is that?
Right now that's in Monaghan's at the moment right now.
What is your friend's name?
Anthony Armand.
Why are you living with a friend?
At the moment, I just since I had left the where I was living last, that's where I decided to go for the meantime.
Are you working?
Yes, sir.
Who do you work for?
I work for a company in the oil field called Scandia.
How long have you been there?
I've been here about, I would say, 4 months.
What is your wage?
I get paid every 2 weeks. After taxes is about $2,200 every 2 weeks after everything's taken out.
Do you have insurance available?
I do. Yes, sir.
Are you able to carry any of your children, especially the 2 that we're talking about here, on insurance?
Yes, sir.
Are they currently enrolled on insurance under your plan?
Not at the moment, sir.
When was the last time you lived with Giselle?
I would say it was anywhere from March, about April-ish, around there, March, April.
Of this year?
Correct.
Why did you and Giselle separate?
We pretty much the main reason was because I wasn't going to complete my classes, and she pretty much told me that if I didn't complete them, that we would no longer be together anymore.
So why did you not complete your classes?
Well, you see, sir, in the beginning when the kids got removed, me and Giselle, we're separate. We're living separately, and that's when they came over CPS and they told me that I would have to take these classes, and if I didn't take them, that I would get my rights taken away, which I didn't understand because at the time the kids weren't living with me, and I had done nothing wrong at the time. So I went to go ahead and just did what they asked me to do. And I started my classes and I did complete a few of them. And they actually had me sign off on a domestic violence class because I didn't need it. So I signed off on that class. And then later towards the end of the case, I don't know the exact month, sir, but they tried putting more classes on me, the ones that I had just signed off on, and it was getting very, very frustrating with me. So I decided not to take the classes,
Did
the
you
ones that I had remaining.
Did you believe you needed domestic violence classes?
Not at all, sir. I've never been in any kind of trouble with the law for like concerning me or Giselle. You know, I've never been to jail for anything. Never laid my hands on her. We do argue. I'm not gonna lie to you. We have argued. But other than all the arguing, nothing's got physical or to the point that I didn't get to.
Were your children present when you and Giselle were having these arguments?
When we were arguing, they every now and then they would be there. Yes, sir. But we would decide, to take it to a room. If they were there listening, we would sometimes separate ourselves from the kids, go to the room, and we're discussing whatever we're discussing, and then that's how we ended it, the argument.
Was there ever any pushing or shoving going on in these arguments?
Not at all, sir. No.
Do you understand that both of your children that are involved in this case have issues resulting from living there with you and Giselle?
No, sir. No.
You don't know anything about the health, mental health, or physical health of your children today?
I know that there's certain things going on with them, such as them getting bullied or whatnot. But as far as like the mental health or anything in that case, and no, sir.
As far as today is concerned, you're not asking the court to let you have possession of these children, are you?
I'm not asking the court that I would have possession of them, but if it was something that they would have wanted to do, I mean, I would be fine with it. Towards the end of the case, after they tried putting everything else on me that I had signed off on, it was very frustrating for me, and I just decided not to take the classes, sir.
Okay, but today you cannot physically take care of those two children, can you?
How can I? Yes, sir, I can. I can physically take care of them. I make more than enough to take care of two kids.
Well, I'm talking about you don't even have a home for you and your two children, do you?
Oh, as of right now, sir, no. But I mean, as of right now, no, sir. I don't have a physical.
So what is your
home.
plan for the future then?
My plan for the future would be to, get my own spot. Funds are there. That wouldn't be a problem. I mean, that would be my own. My plan is to, be on my own, get my own spot, get my own place or whatnot.
Are you court ordered to pay child support for any of your other children?
I pay child support for one of my children, Mariah. They take out $379 every 2 weeks.
Do you think that it would be in the best interest of your children here today that you pay child support for them?
I believe, yes, sir. I believe as a father, that's my responsibility as a father to pay child support. But me and Giselle are comfortable with any kind of a verbal agreement that we have yet to come to make.
Do you believe that your children would be safe if they were returned to Giselle today?
Yes, sir. I believe that they would be safe. I believe that they would be taken care of. And I'm also here as well for any kind of help or support she may need, even though we're not together. I would be, they're my kids at the end of the day, whether me and her are not together, at the end of the day, they're my kids, they're my responsibility. So I would be supportive in that. Yes, sir.
You heard Giselle testify that she believes that you're the father of this unborn child. Do you believe you're that father?
I believe so. I do. Yes, sir.
What is your plan as far as that child is concerned?
Pretty much the same. Same stuff. I mean, I plan on, she'll obviously be having the child will reside with her. So I mean, it's the same thing. I'd be willing to support and help for that child as well if need be. I mean, yes, sir.
But you would agree with me that the services that were outlined by the department that you signed off on, you just have not completed. Is that correct?
No, it's not that I didn't complete them. I kind of just opted out of the whole thing, of the whole case.
You didn't want to become involved any further?
I wanted the kids to go to Giselle, and you know, at the end of the day, I feel like she would really take good care of them, and I feel like if for some reason, you know, down the line, if I was needed, I'd be there for them. But as of right now, I feel like, you know, the kids should be placed with her. She is the mother.
That's all the questions I have of this witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Olson?
Your Honor, I don't have questions for this witness.
Ms. Coward, do you have questions?
No, ma'am, no questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Diaz. You may mute your microphone. Your next witness, Mr. Pipes.
We'll
Does
call you
anyone
back.
need a break? Oh, let's take 5 minutes. Who's your next witness, Mr. Pipes?
Called Yahaira Zubiate, Your Honor. Ms. Zubiate, are you currently the conservatorship caseworker for the children that we've been talking about here today?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been working on this case?
Since the children were removed.
All right. What was your understanding of the removal, the grounds for removal?
It was due to mother using drugs.
And you've heard testimony today that Ms. Munoz has successfully completed a drug rehab program, have you not?
Yes, sir.
And since that occurred, have you had reason to believe that Ms. Munoz is engaged in illegal drug use since that time?
No, she's been testing every month for us and was testing negative.
And as far as testing, it's always been negative, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You've also heard testimony today that she has successfully completed just about all of the programs that the department has asked her to participate in. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct. I just haven't received any additional AA and NA sign-in sheets since around December when I last saw her.
And
Or
since,
not last saw her, but last saw her when she was at her previous home.
and since drugs were an issue, that is an important thing to continue the NA and the AA classes. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. You've heard testimony about you not being able to get in the home of Miss Munoz. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
When was the last, the testimony was that you were there this past Tuesday. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Prior to this past Tuesday, when was the last time you were able to be in the home where Miss Munoz was living?
The last time was in December of last year.
And did you make monthly attempts to get in the home?
Yes, sir. Every month I would go once to even twice a month, and I'm never able to reach her. I understand her whole work situation, but that is one of the reasons why I requested her work schedule, and she never gave me a work schedule. So I just had to show up whenever I could.
You were aware that she was living, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you hear her testify about the conditions of that home with rats and repairs and those issues? Did you hear that testimony?
Yes, sir. The first time I heard about that was at the beginning of this month during our visit with my supervisor.
And because of those issues, would you have approved these children returning to such conditions?
No, sir.
Since she has moved to this new address, you were there on Tuesday, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You've heard testimony that on Tuesday she did not have air conditioning. Is that what you saw personally?
Yes, that's correct.
What did she tell you about that?
That she was working on getting the AC units.
Did she tell you that she had all of the other issues, the children, the clothes, the bedding, those things? Did she volunteer that information while you were there?
I did ask to see the bedrooms, and I I didn't ask to see the clothes, but I'm like, if she had the clothes, but I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know if she does or not. But I did see the beds and it looked good.
Would it be safe to say that during the life of this case, the communication lines between you and Ms. Munoz have not always been clear?
Yes, sir.
And that has caused issues concerning how you have been able to view the safety of returning these children to the mother. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Let me back up and go to Mr. Diaz, the father in this case. It's your understanding that he's the father to both children. Is that your understanding?
Yes, sir.
He testified earlier that he has not, he didn't want to be involved and did not complete the services. Is that basically correct?
Yes, that's correct. I was finally able to speak to him at the beginning of this month. He had been avoiding the department for about 6 months, but he did state that he didn't want anything to do with the department. So that's the last I heard from him.
Are you concerned about his ability to be a good parent and be around these children based upon that conversation that you had with him?
Yes, sir.
You've heard me state at the beginning of this case that the department is going to abandon the termination grounds. You're not seeking termination of either parent's rights today. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What do you believe is in the best interest of these two children before us today?
So I believe it's in the best interest of both children to stay in their current placement due to Giselle not showing that she is able to maintain a safe and stable home and was previously evicted from her other resident around May 15th. I had attempted to see her home, like I said, once or twice a month since December and was barely given access this past Tuesday. So on top of that, the department has been made aware that Giselle continues to be in a relationship with Angelo, and Giselle is not being forthcoming and she evades us. So I can also say that when I've gone to her home, I've seen her vehicle outside and I'll knock on the door and no one will answer. So it's just very concerning that she's not opening whenever I go. It's been twice that has occurred. She also does not have a good support system. At the beginning of this month, when me and my supervisor met with Giselle, she said that we asked her about who her support was and she wasn't able to give me any names. This is the first time I hear about this friend of hers, Haley. So that's new to me. On top of that, I asked her for a picture of the lease of her current home, and she sent me a picture. It's like a 1-page lease, and it's like cropped out. I asked for a full page, but she said that that's all she was given. There was no contact information for the landlord, so I'm not too sure. It just doesn't look right. Let me see. So on top of that, okay, so when she was renting with the previous landlord, I had also asked her for that landlord's information, and she stated that landlord didn't want his information given out, which I have never heard of in the past. So it was just really hard to actually verify her situation there.
Ms. Subiate, I may inquire as to if you've indicated that the department is asking to be the permanent managing conservator of these two children. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And we do not want to terminate either parental right. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And we would ask the court to appoint both parents as possessory conservators of these two children. Is that your understanding?
Yes, sir.
And in that request, you would also request that a reasonable amount of child support be set, visitation be set, and that the department would continue to work with either or both parents as far as services. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
If the department were appointed the permanent managing conservator, would the department be able to aid Ms. Munoz in counseling that she has requested that she needs?
Yes, sir.
And she would not have to pay for that. The department would be able to continue to help her with that. Is that your understanding?
Yes, that's correct.
And would you encourage that?
Yes, definitely.
Ultimately, would you like to see these children return to their mother?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you believe that would be in their best interest, but not today. Is that what you've told us?
That's correct.
Mr. Diaz has not cooperated with the department, and When was the last time he drug tested?
The last time he drug tested for us was, I believe it was November. It was September, actually, September of last year.
All right. So you don't have any information to base an opinion on about how Mr. Diaz would participate with these children other than if he were set up with some specific visitation rights. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's all the questions that I have of this witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Keller?
Yes. Ms. Zupiate, just to review, would you agree that the department asked, or Ms. Giselle Munoz was ordered to complete a psych eval,
Yes, ma'am.
MHMR evaluation,
Yes, ma'am.
OSAR, alcohol and substance abuse assessment,
Yes.
initially referred for outpatient, but then she went to inpatient?
Yes, ma'am.
She was required to do outpatient.
Yes.
She was required to do AA and NA.
Yes, ma'am.
She was required to do parenting classes.
Yes.
She was required to do domestic violence counseling or classes through Safe Place.
Yes, ma'am.
She was required to maintain employment.
Yes.
She was required to obtain and maintain a safe and stable home for the child.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, would you agree that she did successfully complete the psych eval,
Yes.
the MHMR eval,
Yes.
the alcohol and substance abuse assessment,
Yes.
the inpatient and outpatient?
Yes, ma'am.
She did do AA and NA and provided you with some sheets, although you say you've not received any recently, and she testified to that same, correct?
Correct.
You would agree she successfully completed the domestic violence training with Safe Place,
Yes.
the parenting classes?
Yes.
You testified earlier that she has, would you agree that to the best of your knowledge, she's been doing the random UAs and hair follicles as requested and has had all negatives since at least August of last year?
Yes, ma'am.
You've been in both homes, but
Correct.
in the current home that she's in, you were inside and you had the opportunity to search around, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you agree you found no evidence of a male in the home, such as male clothing, male paraphernalia, shaving creams, male boots, shoes, anything like that?
Correct.
You've not seen her in his presence?
Correct.
The department has not been presented with photographic evidence of her in his presence?
I have received a photograph.
Okay. And who did you receive that photograph from?
So the sender said she wished not to have her information given.
So it's someone that's anonymous?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you heard today that Ms. Munoz has a child, an other child with Mr. Diaz,
Yes, ma'am.
and that child resides with his mother,
That's correct.
and that she does visit the child at that home with his mother.
Yes.
And would you agree it is logical to believe, it is reasonable to believe that the father may be there at the home
Yes.
if it's
Your
not?
Honor, I'd agree. I'd object to speculation.
I'm just asking if it's a reasonable belief.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Okay. You have no knowledge that Giselle is engaging in a romantic relationship with Angelo Diaz.
I can say that I had gone by to Miss Holcomb's, which is Angelo's mother's home, and I had seen her vehicle outside maybe about a month ago or so. So that raised concerns.
But you have no evidence that Giselle is in a romantic relationship with Angelo Diaz.
Correct.
And would you agree that you understood she's trying to, is it in the child's best interest for parents whose parental rights are not terminated for them to work on positive co-parenting together for the children?
Yes, ma'am.
And you agree that she's maintained employment?
Yes.
And you agree that she's even been promoted?
Yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, she's acquired a home by herself?
Yes.
The department just doesn't want to return the children to her. Is that correct?
Well, due to the fact that I have not been able to speak to the landlord to verify certain information, I have not been able to go to her home monthly like I'm required to in the past 6 months. So even she says she didn't have a stable home back then. So we really want to see that she's able to maintain a home for the children before returning them.
I pass the witness.
Ms. Blunt, do you have questions?
No questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Olson, do you have questions?
No, Your Honor, no questions for this witness.
All right, do you have redirect, Mr. Pipes?
I do not have redirect, Your Honor, and the department would rest.
Any additional witnesses? Ms. Cower?
No witnesses, Your Honor. I rest.
Ms. Blunt?
Your Honor, I would call Angelo Diaz.
All right, Mr. Diaz, you've been recalled as a witness by your attorney. I'm going to switch the camera to the courtroom angle and ask Ms. Blunt to turn on her microphone. All right, Mr. Diaz, your oath is still in effect. Ms. Blunt?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Diaz, would you please state your name again?
Yes, Angelo Diaz.
And Mr. Diaz, you are the father of,
That's correct.
and can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Now, you have testified and you have told the court that you started out doing some classes and then you decided that you were not going to participate in the classes. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, ma'am.
And you had, what you had completed though, is you did complete a psychological evaluation on February the 17th of 2022. Is that correct?
Correct.
And did you complete MHMR? Did you have an appointment or make an appointment with the MHMR?
The last time I spoke to MHMR, I did make an appointment with them, and they pretty much told me just to go in and go see them. That it's just like a walk-in thing, but that you would have to wait. Like there's a waiting list, is what she told me.
Okay, and so
But I
you
did
never.
not complete that. No, ma'am.
Okay, and then you did do an outpatient and you were attending with Pete Ruiz at High Sky Children's Ranch?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, and you completed an OSAR on February of 2022.
That's right.
And your last random drug test was in September. Do you know if that was negative or positive? Were you ever told?
That was, I believe it was positive for marijuana use.
Okay, and then, but you did not complete your Project Adam course.
No, the Project Adam course, I believe, was for the domestic,
Right.
and they told me I did not qualify. So that's when Yahara called me into her office and told me to sign a paper saying that I did not need to take that class.
Okay, and then you did do individual and couples counseling, and you completed that with Pete Ruiz.
That's correct. Yeah.
And you did complete the parenting.
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
And so today, are you in agreement with the department not terminating your rights?
Yes, ma'am.
And you still want to have the rights of a possessory conservator over both of these two children?
That's correct.
Now, what the mother of the children, Miss Munoz, is wanting to do, she wants the department to return the children to her. Do you believe is it in your opinion that she would be a good mother and that the department should return the children to Miss Munoz?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I do believe that.
Okay, and you are in agreement with her that there was no domestic violence at all?
No, ma'am.
And that you have not lived with her since March or April?
That's correct.
And you are not in a romantic relationship with her?
No, ma'am, we are not.
And you are agreeable to pay and to have court-ordered child support to pay to her to help her with raising those two children?
That's fine. I mean, me and her we're we can communicate very well. And if the verbal agreement between us, that won't work out, then yeah, through child support court, that's fine as well.
Okay, and when we say child support, because this court today can figure your child support based on what you've already testified to. So you have testified that take home, you make approximately $2,200 every 2 weeks. Is that correct?
That is correct, but that's not deducting the child support that I'm paying now for one of the kids.
And that's what I'm going to get to. Then how many other children are you court ordered to pay child support for?
One other child.
Okay. And so right now there's 2 children before the court, but you are paying child support for 2 other children.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if Elijah and Ariana are on Medicaid, then you would have to check. Insurance would be to add the children to your insurance policy. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And it says my internet connection is unstable. I don't know if that's his or mine. Anyway, and so you would be willing to enter into that agreement to be court ordered to pay child support as long as you're getting credit because you're already paying for one other child. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you believe that you and Ms. Munoz can co-parent successfully with these children?
Yes, ma'am. I do believe that we can co-parent. Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Okay. And you and she have another child that your mother is taking care of. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
And do you go and are you able to see Angelo at your mother's house?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
And Miss Munoz is able to go over there and also visit.
That's right. Yes.
And as a proposal for the department, would your mother be willing to supervise visits with your 2 other children if Miss Munoz was able to bring those 2 children to your mother's house?
She would be able to be there. Yes, ma'am. She would be someone that's able to supervise. Yes.
Okay. And that would give the department then a plan for if they had concerns about you around the children, then to have your mother, who has been taking care of a child for the past, since the child was placed there, then that would hopefully make them feel comfortable that all the children would be safe and you would be supervised in your visitation.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. And you believe that you could be able to work that out with Ms. Munoz and yourself and your mother?
Most definitely.
Okay. And so to sum it up, you're wanting the children to be returned to their mother, Giselle Munoz.
That's correct. Yes.
And you're willing to pay child support.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're willing to either try to carry the kids on insurance or at least have a cash medical support payment to Ms. Munoz if she has to put the children on alternative means of insurance.
Yes, no problem.
And then to have some type of visitation that hopefully can be arranged and agreed to through your mother and Ms. Munoz and yourself.
Yes.
Okay. And you believe that is in the best interest of your 2 children?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor, if I may, just a couple of questions. Mr. Diaz, there was some testimony as to the process of the transfer of Angelo Jr. from Giselle to your mother. Yes, I've been trying to get the video started. Sorry, Your Honor.
Oh, that's okay. I didn't know if you had lost video capability or if you even knew you didn't have it on.
It never gave me a button, and I guess it's still not giving me a button. I mean, the button is gray that says start video. I apologize. I don't know why it's being so persnickety. Anyway, so Mr. Diaz, there was testimony that you were the one who basically sort of pushed the issue of transferring Angelo Jr. from his mother to your mother, and that this took place when he was about 8 months old. Is that correct?
At that time, yes, only because of the drug use that was going on, not for any other reason.
Okay. No, that's fine. So, and this would have been, I'm tracking down this birth date again. He was born September of 2020. So 8 months from there would have been about May of 2021, April or May. Does that sound right?
That sounds correct, yes.
Okay. But you didn't feel the need to make any change as to Elijah or Ariana at that time?
No, at that time, I wasn't able to, physically, place them there with my mother, and I felt like it was, it would have been too much for my mother at the time as well, because she's getting to that age, and I didn't want to put all that stress on her, so I decided to go with the, go with the youngest one.
Okay. And so the other two just stayed there with their mother, who you knew was actively engaged in the use of illegal drugs.
They were left there, but at the time I also attempted to try to, get the kids as well. I just didn't leave them there. I did also, try to speak with her and, get the kids as well, but it didn't go as planned.
Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Blunt, do you have additional questions?
No, I have no additional questions or witnesses, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Olson, do you have additional witnesses?
I do not, Your Honor.
All right, rebuttal, Mr. Pipes.
I have no rebuttal, Your Honor. We would rest and close.
Everyone rest and close.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Your Honor.
All right, summations. Mr. Pipes?
Your Honor, as I have stated earlier, the department would abandon the grounds for termination, and we would ask the court to appoint the department as the permanent managing conservator without terminating the rights of the parents. And we believe that the appointment of the department as the permanent managing conservator would be in the best interest of these children, and the appointment of a parent would not be in the best interest of these children, because that appointment would impair the physical or emotional development of these two children, and it is not in their best interest, and no witnesses or no evidence has been presented that another relative would be willing to serve as a managing conservator. And with that, Your Honor, we would ask that the department be appointed the permanent managing conservator, both parents, possessory conservators with child support and visitation orders. Thank you.
Ms. Coward?
Your Honor, Ms. Munoz and I respectfully request that the court find that she has complied and successfully completed the services that were court ordered. She has been found to be in compliance at the prior permanency hearings. She has maintained sobriety. She has successfully addressed the reasons that the department initially became involved in the case. She has obtained a safe and stable home for her children. Your Honor, we ask that the court find that it is in the best interest of the children to return to their mother and award her permanent managing conservatorship of the children, awarding Mr. Diaz possessory rights, ordering that he have visitation with the children, supervised by his mother, ordering him to pay child support based on minimum wage. And in the alternative, Your Honor, Ms. Munoz and I do request that the court please consider a monitored return if the court finds permanent custody to her at this time is not in the best interest.
Thank you, Ms. Coward. Ms. Blunt?
And Your Honor, as you've heard my client testify, he believes that it is in the best interest that the mother be appointed as the managing conservator. And he would also join in that if the court so finds that there does need to be a monitored return, my client would agree with that, and to appoint him a possessory conservator and to pay child support and have visitation, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Blunt. Mr. Olson?
Your Honor, on behalf of the children, as the attorney ad litem, I would ask that the court approve the request of the department I believe while there has been progress and there have been services completed, there are still significant questions about the stability of the housing situation. The department has not had an opportunity to view that apartment in any status that would be appropriate for the placement of the children there. I would point the court to the report that I filed with regard to this, and actually the last series of reports that I've filed. The children suffered greatly from the circumstances that they found themselves in, and have only in recent months been starting to recover from that. I think precipitously placing them back with their mother in unsettled circumstances would be averse to their best interests, and that the best interests of the children are in fact protected by naming the department as permanent managing conservator and proceeding from there to try to see what we can do further to arrange for perhaps an appropriate transition at a future time. So that's the position that I would take as the attorney ad litem, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Rebuttal, Mr. Pipes?
I have no rebuttal. We would close, Your Honor.
All right. The court does find as follows, that neither parent should be appointed. It would not be in the best interest to appoint either one managing conservator, and it is not safe for the children to be returned to either parent at this time. It greatly concerns me that neither parent has learned any protective behaviors. I'm greatly concerned that Ms. Munoz will not protect these children from Mr. Diaz. It's unfortunate that Mr. Diaz felt like the department was putting classes on him and did not understand, even though he had counsel who is very learned and qualified, that those were not his choice, those were court ordered. I'm not sure it's not best that the department didn't proceed with their termination grounds based on the testimony today, because I find neither of these parents credible. But I will appoint the department permanent managing conservator. The visits are going to remain the same, supervised by the department. Both parents will pay child support guidelines. You have the right to de novo this and can discuss that with your attorneys. We will have our next hearing. You have the date in front of you. I lost it. I'll get it. It's a review on August 24th at 11:45 a.m. If there's nothing else, we'll recess. Oh, thank she's the one. Much.
Yes, she is it.
Okay, good. Well, as soon as we get her connected to audio.
I have never kicked a lady in the rear and not going to start.
Oh, I don't believe that for 1 minute. Sometimes that's the best way to get things done.
There she is.
There we go.
I was trying.
Oh, she'll let me kick her in the rear. We were talking about the, is it Gallegos?
Yes.
The little girl that she's ready for adoption, and I'm going to kick you in the rear to get that adoption done.
Oh, no, we're doing it. You don't have to.
See?
No, we're doing it. It's going pretty fast.
I know her. She's good. She'll take care of it. Announcements. Ms. Blunt, you're here for Mr. Myrick.
Yes, Glenn Pike for the department, Your Honor.
And Roxanne Blunt, filling in for Larry Myrick for Pike Man 14. And I'm present, Your Honor.
I don't have an update on this one. So update me. You're under oath. Mr. Pipes?
Maria, please bring the court up to date. We were a little late in getting our report file, so give her a thumbnail sketch of where we are today.
Sure. Sorry about that. Yes, he's in the same placement. He's been in since December. He's at the Burke Center for Children. He goes back and forth as well for a little bit, then doesn't. He's still specialized. He is on medication. There hasn't been a lot of medication changes. He's up to date. He's on guanfacine for ADHD, trazodone for insomnia, amoxicillin for ADHD, and Latuda for mood. He's up to date on everything. He does very well in school. He really likes math and science. He's into robotics. They planted an herb garden, and he really liked that. He's passing. He'll be in the 9th grade next year.
On August the 28th, he will be 15. We've had several families interested in him, but they cannot take a specialized level of care child. So that's about where we are on his permanency.
Do you, will he have a level of care evaluation anytime soon, or is there a chance it'll come down?
There's a chance that it'll come down. Let me see. I'm not sure exactly when his next one is, but he has them every 3 months.
Okay.
So if it's not like right now, it'll be soon.
And he'll have to be discharged from Berks, won't he?
If he gets to moderate, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, Mr. Pipes, anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Blunt?
I have nothing. Mr. Myrick did say that he asked for some Legos and that Mr. Myrick did send him some Legos, so he should be in a good mood.
You know, I know grown people that do these elaborate Lego things.
Yeah.
It just blows my mind. But they're expensive. So
Yeah.
I must be paying Larry too much. No. All right. We'll have our next review November 9th at 11:45. Please tell Peyton I'm excited he's doing well in school and hope we can make progress on his case soon. Ms. Cower, you represent the child. Thank
Ms.
you.
Pipes,
You're here for
thank
the
you.
department. Ms. Parks, you're under oath.
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Parks, would you please bring us up to date about the recent information that we have concerning King?
Yes, we actually are waiting for adoption to be or the case to be transferred over to adoptions. I am working on some of the things that will occur during adoptions. I'm not too familiar with a lot of it, but we have worked with Tara. We had a presentation staffing for him where a potential family is actually interested in him. And we did the initial staffing with everyone. That occurred on the 16th. We are working with the Tara coordinator to see about an adoption worker helping us out until the transfer is officially transferred over. They do want to start visits with this family and move forward with adoption. So that is really good news. We're hoping that it all works out as far as the adoption timeframes and all of that. I'm not sure. We are looking for a staffing hopefully by July. And the visitation and all of those things are pending right now.
Your Honor, it's
That's
just
fantastic.
We have just good news, and it's all going fast. And if the court would refer to my prior statement about we are understaffed, and Ms. Parks is overworked and underpaid and all of the above. But I will try my best to get upper management to get this case moved to adoption.
I think this one's going to have to go slow just because of the issues that King has had in the past. We're going to have to make sure. But that, for you to tell me y'all are understaffed and overworked and it's horrible, y'all are really giving good reports today. So way to go. Fantastic. Ms. Cower, you're not smiling.
No, ma'am. My concern is that I do acknowledge that there is a need to go slowly with this family, and King, the family is very interested in starting visits. They're interested in getting the adoption process going. My concern is with the delay between now and the staffing to transfer it to adoptions. I feel like it's so time sensitive with this family. We don't want to lose this family. If we could get an immediate order to transfer this case from conservatorship to adoptions, that would expedite everything for them to deal with the slow process of getting the child acquainted with the family. Elizabeth is not cross-trained from conservative. They don't cross-train them to do adoption paperwork. If they had an experienced adoption worker, it was already in the adoption unit, they could fly with it and they could take their time if they needed to. So that's just my concern. If there's a way we can get an order to transfer, today, I would ask if we could do that, please.
Well, and I wasn't suggesting that she has to do that. I can order it transferred, but the problem is if you've got too big of caseloads on the people in the transfer, Ms. Parks is going to get more done in the meantime.
Actually, my understanding, not to dispute your honor, my understanding is they're dumping everything on the conservatorship workers. They're making the conservatorship workers work the adoptions. They're getting the HESIG reports. They're doing everything. They're handing everything to adoptions wrapped in a gift. And all they have to do is just have the hearing, basically. They're making conservatorship do everything. And I know I'm sticking my nose in places it shouldn't go, but I'm concerned about these young girls, these young ladies, the workers. They're overworked and I worry about them. She's going to have to drive to Houston for a 2-hour visit and then drive back and then go. And they should just have an adoption worker deal with it. And
Your
all
Honor,
the paperwork.
Miss Perales-Cower and I had this discussion yesterday about 10:30 out in front of the Pecos County Courthouse in beautiful downtown Fort Stockton. And I don't know how I can encourage management, upstream management, to comply or to move this along like Ms. Perales-Cower and I both believe it needs to be done. We're stuck, like I said earlier, understaffed, Your Honor.
I've asked them twice by emails, Your Honor. I've asked them, please, can we expedite the transfer? Please. Nobody responds. Just Barbara Cox is the only one that responded, and she's leaving us too. She's going to another department.
She is gone as of Monday.
Well, I'll order it transferred within
so
7
much.
days.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Don't panic, Ms. Parks. It'll be okay. Tell him I'm a bad guy.
You're a good bad girl.
I'm a bad guy. All right, our next permanency review will be set on November 9th at 10:30 a.m.
Thank you, Judge. May I be excused?
Thank you. You may. Thank you very
We're present and
much.
ready, and we did finally get a report filed yesterday, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, Monica Hoffman, attorney ad litem for the children. I believe the placement, Miss Ariola, is waiting.
Okay.
I would call Elizabeth Parks. Ms. Parks, would you please give us an update?
And you're still under oath.
Yes, ma'am. Both kids are doing really well. Medical and dental scans all up to date. Gabby did have an issue with, she was getting potty trained and it was a little bit difficult. So the doctor began to get concerned, thinking it was possibly diabetes. She was seen by the doctor and it ended up being a UTI. And so they've resolved those issues. Now, as far as the status with licensing and all of that, Karen has completed all the requirements. We are still waiting on the divorce decree issue. She did hire Gavin Norris to get that situation resolved. And I believe he is working on it, on getting the transcript from that. That is the only thing that's pending for her licensing. Once that's completed, then she will, it will be requested for a transfer to adoptions.
And is Gavin going to do the adoption as well?
That has not been set up yet. I know that he did talk to her about it, but she hasn't set up, she hasn't signed a contract in that regards.
Okay. Mr. Pipes, anything else?
I believe that covers it, Your Honor.
Ms. Hoffman?
Your Honor, Ivan was actually referred to Cook's Children's Hospital in Midland to be tested for autism, according to the placement. But other than that, everything has been covered.
You know, I had this come up in another case. I didn't think you could diagnose autism this young. I'm going to have to do a little more research. That's interesting. Okay.
I think it's old, but since he is having some issues with ECI and things like that, that's why they're trying to get him over there.
Well, and certainly people that are smarter than me, but need to be involved in that. I appreciate the placement working so diligently. If I can assist in any way in getting that transcript or getting that divorce, please let Mr. Norris know. I'll be glad to help. Otherwise, everything's approved and we'll set the next placement for November 9th at 10:15. Okay, I don't really understand. Peyton, there you are. No, hello. We have already concluded Peyton's hearing. We got to it before y'all joined us.
Hi.
So I just got a report on school. Is there anything that Peyton wants to say? To talk to me about?
No, ma'am.
I mean, the hearing went really quickly and they just told me school's going well, that they're looking at possibly family placement if they can get going towards that. So we took care of all that and we have another hearing set in November.
Okay.
All right.
All
So,
right.
yeah, the attorney will be in touch. And if you need anything, let us know.
Did
Yes,
you get your
ma'am.
Legos?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, Glenn Pipes
All
for the
right, Ms.
department,
Wilson.
as the court may or may not want to remember, the Honorable Roxanne Blunt filed a de novo appeal in this case. And
Yes.
on the 11:59th hour, non-suited it. And so we are now just back in your court 100%. And based upon that, Ms. Wicker was not able to start the adoption process, Your Honor, to order the records, the medical and all of that, because the de novo was still pending. And so we are just now getting started is the best way to say that, Your Honor.
But the foster family where he's placed now will adopt?
Oh, yes, Your Honor.
Fantastic. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
And that's where we're headed, Your Honor. And Ms. Wicker indicated that due to the fact that the de novo was still pending, she couldn't order all of the records yet, but now
Sure.
it's going.
Excellent. Okay. Well, everything's approved. We'll hear that case, the next one on November 9th at 11 a.m.
11 a.m.
I believe that concludes our docket for
I
today.
believe that does, Your Honor, and I want to congratulate you on the lightning speed that we completed this docket.
Oh, I have nothing to do with it. I just have really good attorneys that take care of the issues.
And a very good court administrator sitting to your immediate left.
I
there.
look at her head growing while you're talking. Ms. Wilson, thank you. Was there anything else? You're sitting in for Ms. Wicker, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
she
Okay.
was in an airport somewhere, Your Honor.
All right. We'll recess. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend. Yeah,
You
thank you.
too.